Welcome to another Smart Money Concepts video. I have a question for you. Let's say you wake up tomorrow and find out you've inherited almost $100,000 from your departed loved one. What would you do with that amount of money? How will you make the most out of it? Personally, I'd probably consult a financial expert to help me deal with this huge amount of money that I received in an instant. I think it's the wisest thing to do because I know I'd be overwhelmed in the event that this happens. But did you know that you actually have to prepare for such a situation? Right now, the greatest wealth transfer on the planet is happening, and you might take part of it. But what is this great wealth transfer, and how does it affect us? I'll answer that in a few. But before we start, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more Smart Money Concepts videos. Greatest wealth transfer on Earth. The greatest wealth transfer in the history of America has now begun and is set to continue for the next 20 years. You see, what's happening is that about $71 trillion in wealth will be transferred from the older generations to the younger ones. This record-breaking amount has led financial experts to dub the event the Great Wealth Transfer. The baby boomers, or those who were born in the years 1944 to 1964, will transfer this incomparable amount of money to their children and relatives, those who belong to the Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z generations. And you have to know that this has never happened before. America hasn't witnessed this immense amount of wealth being passed on ever. And as this wealth transfer happens, America's economic landscape will also shift and change. Baby boomers and wealth. Right now, baby boomers hold almost 53% of America's wealth, as opposed to the 4.6% held by the millennials. And this just proves that the older generation undeniably has the biggest allocation of wealth. But how did it happen? Well, let's look at the generations ahead of them. The silent generations lived through World War II. They had to be practical and frugal. They searched for ways to earn and save money during hard times. Their financial diligence and sacrifices paved the way for the baby boomers to flourish during their time. The post-war economic situation made it easy for the boomers to build their wealth and grow their assets. This was pretty evident, especially during the late 80s to early 90s when the boomers entered the market. At this point, they were already as old as the millennials, yet they already held 21% of America's wealth. The boomers were faced with less financial troubles and lived through a stable and strong economy. Their parents settled appropriate taxes to lower their tuition fees, as a result, leaving them with little to no student loans at all. Job security was at its best, and even those who didn't finish college had high daily wages. The housing market provided options and attainable rates to people from different economic backgrounds. These reasons somehow helped them accumulate their wealth over time. To be fair, however, not all baby boomers were given the same opportunities. In fact, those born in the early 60s did not have the same opportunities as their parents. For example, by the time that group of boomers hit the employment scene, many job perks from large corporations were already waning. Most unions and labor protections were long gone. There were no real promises of pensions or the 30-year gold watch scenario that their parents faced when retiring with full benefits and guaranteed retirement incomes. And most faced the daunting task of constantly reinventing themselves just to make ends meet. In the late 80s, when these boomers were attempting to go to college or purchase their first homes, for example, the housing interest rates were suffocatingly high. Interest rates reached their highest point in modern history in 1981, when the annual average was 16.63%, according to Freddie Mac data. Fixed rates declined from there, finished in 1989 at around 10%. The 1980s were an expensive time to borrow money for both homes and student loans. From there, this segment of boomers were considered the sandwich generation, a generation of people responsible for bringing up their own children and simultaneously for the care of their aging parents. What this group of boomers is able to leave their heirs will be quite different from their parents who are in the same boomer group. But you have to remember that the same labor protections and institutions that helped the older boomers are now shattered. Student loans are so high that the current generation is crippled with debt. Housing rates are increasing, and even those in the middle class can't afford to buy homes without a large mortgage. These differences somehow contributed to the great wealth transfer. But did you know that according to a recent survey, 75% of baby boomers do not want to leave their wealth to their children? They're more interested in living their lives to the fullest, traveling, owning their dream vehicles, going on vacations, than bequeathing inheritances to their children. And I think you know some of them. Some of the notable billionaires who made the news because they decided not to leave their billions to their children are Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Star Wars director George Lucas. Increase your financial literacy by watching our videos. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified whenever Smart Money Concepts posts a new video. Are the new generations ready? Still, we have to remember that a lot of parents would want their children to live comfortably even after they pass on. So this leads us to the question, are their children ready for this huge amount of wealth? To be honest, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z are facing a different economy, an unpleasant one than what their parents faced before. And even though Millennials are technically the highest earning generation, they have less savings. And it's because of 1, their outstanding debts, and 2, the higher cost of living today. Right now, less than 50% of Millennials are saving for their retirements. And as if that isn't enough, Millennials have also faced 2 recessions in their lifetime, and they're not even 40. Because of this, the younger generations are somehow depending on the great wealth transfer. The wealth they would inherit, all $71 trillion of it, can immediately make them rich and can help them afford the things that they could instantly buy, like houses, vehicles, and real estate. But the question remains, are they ready for it? Well, we can't readily answer that, but boomers can help their children create a financial plan for their family assets. They can consult experts to give them ways to look after their generational wealth. There are options actually, and one of them is a trust. A trust is an arrangement made by a grantor or a truster that authorizes a trustee to manage his or her assets on behalf of the beneficiaries. A trust provides organization and structure when it comes to the handling of assets, and it differs depending on a family's needs and plans. These younger generations should really increase their financial literacy and acquire knowledge on asset and wealth management so that they can nurture their money and avoid losing their generational wealth over senseless things. What it means to Americans. The great wealth transfer could change the financial landscape in America. So, how does that affect all of us? It's quite hard to describe how it will affect the economy as there are certain factors to consider. First, we will only know what happens to the money once the heirs physically acquire it. It actually depends on them if they will put the money into the market or not. A study in 2018 said that millennials are not inclined to invest anymore. Therefore, we can't expect them to invest their inherited wealth. They may have different plans for it. The reasoning is that most millennials do not trust the stock market or the government when it comes to their money. Also, even if they decided to invest it, we still don't know the future of the stock market or if there will be changes in tax laws. But the first thing that everyone associated with their family's wealth transfer should know is the date of the transfer. Not all wealth transfers happen once the parent dies, so baby boomers must plan ahead in order to efficiently facilitate the transfer. Sometimes, the parents need to give their inheritances at earlier dates so their children can use the money for their health care. This is especially true for those who have huge chances of developing illnesses that may make them forget things, such as Alzheimer's or dementia. But one thing's for sure, the great wealth transfer will transform the industry of financial services. Since there's a huge influx of people preparing the transfer of their assets, as well as Americans getting inheritances, financial lawyers, planners, and advisors should prepare. They should educate their clients on financial planning so that they can effectively pass down their wealth with the least amount of financial burden to the heirs. Want to know what to do with your money in case you inherit some? We'll help you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified whenever Smart Money Concepts posts a new video. Since there are talks that the great wealth transfer is already happening, you probably have so many questions on how you should use that money in case you're one of the respective heirs. Well, I have some tips you can follow so that you'll be able to make the most out of your wealth. Number 1. Know all about inheritance tax. Inheritance tax is a tax that you should pay to the state when you obtain money, real estate, or property from a person who has died. Listen, it's different from estate tax where the grantor is the one who pays. To give you background, inheritance tax is currently collected in some U.S. states, but not in others, and their policies differ from state to state, so be sure to do your own research as this will be your responsibility. Number 2. Consult the pros. This is necessary especially for those who receive huge amounts of inheritance. Ask for help from the professional so that you'll know where you're headed. Acquire the services of tax attorneys, tax advisors, real estate agents, insurance agents, and estate planning attorneys so that they guide you as you embark on your wealth managing journey. Number 3. Avoid uncontrollable spending. Avoid spending all of your inheritance at one go, unless you want to go broke. Think about the hard work that your mom or dad did in order to save that money, which led its way to you. Here are some possible things you can do instead. Repay your debts. Moving forward, you would want to live as debt-free as possible, so it's important to eliminate your debts. Pay your mortgages and auto loans so that you can be free from the monthly payments. Just imagine the financial freedom it could give you once you're done with them. And remember, we don't take out new ones if you don't absolutely need them. Save your money. Build your emergency fund. Now that you have extra cash on hand, you should allot some of it to your savings so you'll have something to fall back on in case things go sour. Donate to charity. Choose a charity in line with your causes and give a portion of your inheritance to it. Show some humanity and give back when you receive something. Set up your children's college funds. Spare your children from the stress that comes with paying student loans. Listen, you have to prepare for their future so they'll end up successful in life. And who knows, they might be the next millionaires or billionaires in town, right? Invest your money. Put your money into the market and invest it in stocks, shares, or mutual funds. Just do your research first so that you choose an investment that can multiply your money. So there it is. I hope you've become aware of the greatest wealth transfer in our nation's history and that it's currently happening right now. How about you? In case you receive an inheritance, what would you do with it? Leave your answers in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.